Billionaire's shocking accusation against Maid exposed. Girl's incredible testimony transforms everything. Sofia Ramirez stood in the lavish hallway of the Wellington estate, the sunlight streaming through the grand windows, highlighting the dust particles dancing in the air. She gripped her mop tightly, silently cursing the cruel irony of her life. Each morning she awoke with dreams of becoming a doctor, motivated by the sacrifices of her immigrant family. Yet, as the sun rose on this typical Tuesday, fate twisted into an unforgiving conspiracy that would threaten her very identity. "Can you believe that? A priceless heirloom disappeared?" whispered one of the housemaids, eyes wide with disbelief. Sofia felt a sickening plummet in her stomach. She hurried past them, unsure if they would point their fingers next. The soft murmurs of wealthy neighbors echoed through her mind, once appreciative of her diligence, but now tainted by whispered doubts. How could they think such things of her? She was nothing but the help. Doubt gnawed at her. The moment she had learned of the disappearance, Mark Wellington's late grandmother's diamond brooch, she had turned pale. She was poor, yes, but never a thief. Yet, in this community, her background alone branded her guilty in the eyes of others. As she scrubbed mercilessly, her mind churned with turmoil. Would her hard work and dreams mean nothing if everyone she encountered was convinced of her guilt? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Sofia clenched her teeth, feeling the weight of judgment rain down on her. Thoughts slipped like sand through her fingers as her world splintered. Community members who once smiled at her now avoided her gaze. Even Mark and his wife, once grateful for her dedication, now regarded her with skepticism. The media storm that brewed around the accusation felt relentless, a tidal wave threatening to sweep her away. Her mother's comforting voice rang in her ears, but did it matter when the evidence seemed to be against her? An aging lawyer named Mr. Thompson had always sympathized with the struggles of the working class. She sought his help, hoping he would be the anchor amidst the tumultuous waves. As they conversed, a flicker of hope ignited within Sofia. She would not let the label of a thief define her. She would uncover the truth. Just as anxiety threatened to overwhelm her, his calm demeanor reassured her that the battle was far from over. But as the day of her testimony loomed closer, the revelations darkened around her like storm. Clouds gathering for a thunderstorm. What would she uncover about the Wellington family? What buried secrets lay hidden beneath their polished exterior? Her heart raced. This was not just about her innocence. It was about every person who struggled to find their voice amidst an unforgiving hierarchy. And now, with everything on the line, Sofia was left wondering if justice could shield her, or if she would fall victim to the very biases that had pushed her into this nightmarish dungeon. With her mind racing, she balanced on the edge of uncertainty as the courtroom awaited her testimony. Would her truth shatter the facade of the family who had once employed her? Or would it drag her further down, entangled in their complex web of privilege and power? The pressure mounted, and she stood on the precipice of revelation, heart pounding fiercely as she prepared to reclaim her narrative amidst the chaos. Sofia inhaled deeply, feeling the air around her thicken with anticipation. She shifted her weight from one foot to the other, the unfamiliar surroundings of the courtroom cold and sterile. This was not merely a building where decisions were made. It was a crucible where her entire existence would be scrutinized under the unrelenting gaze of justice. The judge's gavel echoed like a distant drum roll as she recalled the weight of Mr. Thompson's words. Truth is a powerful weapon. As she waited for her name to be called, she replayed every moment leading to this point in her mind. The accusations had shattered her world, but they had also ignited a fierce resolve. The thought of being trapped in her own story filled her with a burning determination. The echoes of doubts and whispers surrounded her, but she refused to let them stifle her voice any longer. When her name finally rang out in the courtroom, she rose with an urgency that surprised even herself. She approached the witness stand, her heart drumming fiercely in her chest. Each step felt monumental, as if she were crossing into a new version of herself. The defense attorney, a sharp-suited woman with an air of authority, shot her a condescending glance. Sofia squared her shoulders, refusing to be intimidated. This was her moment. Taking her place behind the stand, she noticed how the courtroom seemed to shift. The jurors, with vacant expressions, represented her fate, and she could feel their scrutiny like a burning spotlight. But beneath the fear lay something stronger, an undeniable connection to the dreams she had nurtured all her life. She reminded herself why she was here. This wasn't just about defending her reputation. It was about revealing the truth that had been buried beneath layers of wealth and privilege. Mr. Thompson's voice steadied her as he began the examination. With each question, he recreated the timeline of events surrounding the missing brooch. Though he approached the matter cautiously, Sofia's pulse quickened at the thought of revealing what she knew. Questions rattled through her mind. What secrets would surface? What alliances had been forged under the facade of civility? As she recounted the moments leading up to the disappearance, a sense of empowerment enveloped her. Every detail refused to dim under the weight of distasteful assumptions. The glance Mark had given her, uncharacteristically harsh, lingered in her memory. What had she witnessed in that fleeting moment? She had seen more than distrust. She had glimpsed desperation, a reflection of the desperate lengths to maintain their towering pedestals. But just as she began to feel the weight lifting, the defense attorney interrupted, launching a barrage of insinuations that clawed at her psyche. The pointed remarks aimed at her character chipped away at her burgeoning confidence. She was merely a maid, a girl of humble origins. "Could it be possible that you took the brooch to settle your financial struggles?" the attorney probed, contempt dripping from her words. The accusation stung, coiling tight around her chest like a snake. For a second, she felt the walls of the courtroom closing in, a wave of anxiety threatening to drown her. Gathering her composure, she opened her mouth to give an honest answer, but as she did, she realized this was not just about the diamond brooch anymore. It was about the struggle to be seen and heard beyond the label of the help. As she steadied her breath, she could almost hear her mother's voice, guiding her not to yield to fear. "I would never steal," she said fiercely, her voice echoing in the silence of the courtroom. "I am not defined by my economic circumstances, nor by the prejudices surrounding me." Her bold declaration hung in the air, recharging her spirit. By taking a stand, she ignited a fire within others too. But as she prepared to face the barrage of questions that would come, she understood that the truth was a fragile construct, and her fight was only beginning. Mark's image flashed in her mind, along with the tantalizing possibility of a hidden truth. Would uncovering his family's secrets bring her redemption or further entanglement in their web? The time had come to face the darkness lurking in the shadows of their lives. Sofia's throat felt parched as the defense attorney adjusted her glasses and leaned in, ready to strike. The moment hung between them, heavier than the accusations, laden with implications. "So you're suggesting that all of this is mere coincidence?" Her voice dripped with sarcasm. "You would have us believe that a maid, a mere maid, could navigate the web of deception surrounding the affluent Thompson family?" With each word, Sofia's patience frayed. There they were again, the assumptions, the judgments that labeled her as less than. This was an opportunity to turn the tide, not just in this courtroom, but in the inner sanctum of her own mind. The sweet taste of liberation thus far was quickly souring, her memories pushing back against the tides of self-doubt. She had to confront those fears while she stood before the jury. He's right, she thought, locking eyes with the jury. These men and women were more than just a collective of faces. They were decision-makers who could lift her story from the realm of the invisible into the light. I must speak. I must fight. Yes, I was a maid, she asserted, the weight of her reality settling into her words. But that does not render my experience any less valid than that of the Thompsons. It felt like a fracture shifting, raw and powerful. It didn't matter that she was under scrutiny. All at once she was reclaiming her narrative. What made you so sure about the events on that day? The attorney pressed, her tone deceptively soft, encircling like the pythons that squeezed. Sofia narrowed her gaze, deadpan and determined. Because in that household, I carry more than just a mop and duster. I carry burdens nobody else sees. I witnessed more than just their glamour. I saw the masks they wore, the cracks in their facade. As murmurs swept through the courtroom, she felt the shifting energy. This was possible. She could sway the jury with clarity, with truth, and own her existence. The words poured forth, painting a picture of duplicity and desperation that had flourished behind the manicured lawns and polished silverware. Her mind raced back to the moments before the brooch disappeared. The tension in the Thompson household had been unbearable. The whispered conversations, the furtive glances exchanged between Mark and his parents, all masked under layers of champagne and laughter. She'd seen those pivotal moments that no one else noticed. The brooch may be a mere object, but what it represented, family honor, wealth, it was everything to them. And in their desperation to maintain the illusion, they compromised everything. The look on the attorney's face shifted, nerves momentarily faltering as questions opened up a deeper space of inquiry. For that briefest moment, Sofia could smell victory. But Mark's penetrating gaze pierced her from across the room, eyes wide and meeting hers with a complexity that turned her stomach. There was fear that she would unearth what he was trying to hide. Time slowed as she felt the electric tension crackle in the air. Her heart raced, knowing that the next words she spoke could reshape not just her future, but the future of the Thompsons as well. Mark knows something, she thought, a revelation sparking light in her mind. He's hiding something, and I have to dig deeper. Sofia breathed slowly, just as her mother had taught her, grounding herself in the moment. As the attorney gathered her notes, readying for the next attack, Sofia recognized the stones that had been thrown at her. But rather than allowing them to crush her spirit, she transformed them into stepping stones. It was more than a testimony. It was a reclamation. And somehow she would summon the strength to keep pushing forward and uncover the truth, her truth. Tonight, the arena of truth became not only a fight for her reputation, but a pathway to the secrets lurking beneath the surface. The tide was shifting, but she wouldn't stop until she unearthed Mark's shadowy secrets, whatever the cost. The courtroom, with its tense atmosphere, felt alive with possibilities, each moment charged with the potential for revelation. What would she uncover next, and how would it change everything she thought she knew about the man who'd once seemed untouchable? Sofia felt the air thicken as the defense attorney shifted tactics, a marked change that set off alarm bells in her mind. With a calculated smile, the attorney leaned forward, her voice dripping with mock sympathy. "You're saying you possess insights into this family that they themselves lacked?" Sofia could feel the weight of skepticism in the air. Each word echoed in her ears, a reminder of how society had so often dismissed her. Yet beneath the judgment lay an opportunity, an opening to dive deeper into the story she had gathered and curated during her time with the Thompsons. This wasn't merely about proving her worth. It was about uncovering their vulnerabilities, exposing truths that could alter everything. "Yes," she responded firmly, emboldened by her conviction. "I saw the fractures within the family dynamics, moments when their smiles faded and their true selves emerged. I was there when they thought nobody was watching." A subtle shift among the jurors caught her attention. Their expressions told her they were listening, engaging. She sensed a keen interest growing in the depths of their curiosity, a coming together of disparate lives as they leaned in to hear her story. As she stood tall, Sofia recalled a tense night when she overheard a hushed argument between Mark and his father, their words brimming with resentment and fear. "What will it take for you to understand? Reputation is everything," Mark had shouted, his voice quivering with the pressure of family expectations. Sofia had remained hidden, an uninvited ghost in their luxurious world. Mark had everything, she reflected, yet even he was ensnared in their illusions. Sofia understood that beneath the glittering surface lay pain and struggle. Mark's privilege had not disallowed his suffering, and therein lay the crux of her revelation. It deepened her resolve, giving her insight that could work in her favor against the defense attorney's presumptions. "What was your place in their lives?" the attorney continued, her tone sharper now, seeking to twist Sofia's confidence. "Surely the maid wouldn't dare to challenge the Thompsons directly." A heartbeat of fear flickered in Sofia's chest, but as quickly as it appeared, she recognized it for what it was, a choice. She could fold under the weight of the accusation, or she could drive forward, armed with her truths. "I was a part of their lives," she said, steadied by the power of honesty. "I was their observer, their silent witness. I knew their feigned smiles and hurtful whispers. I saw them as their armor cracked and their insecurities laid bare. I may be a maid, but that doesn't make my knowledge any less significant." The attorney's brow furrowed, the certainty of her approach beginning to waver as Sofia's voice echoed through the chambers. With each word, she felt like a container of power, dictated not by others' perceptions, but by her authentic experiences. Yet, the deeper she probed into her memories, the more she felt the weight of Mark's gaze. Was it her imagination, or was he subtly urging her to stop? The reality of their shared history, tangled in complexities she had yet to fully untangle. "There's something he's not telling me, and I need to find out what it is," she thought, determination sharpening her focus. Every moment unfolded like a calculation in her head, teetering between the vulnerabilities she had witnessed and the brave persona she was crafting in real time. It was not just about survival in that courtroom, it was about redefining who she was in relation to the world. As the attorney prepared another line of inquiry, an adrenaline rush accompanied Sofia's rising confidence. This was her moment to dismantle the tiered walls that had kept her identity cornered. "The time has come to face the truth, not just for the jury, but for myself," she vowed internally. With that decisive clarity, she locked eyes with Mark one last time, determined that whatever he was hiding would be unearthed. She felt a shift in her core, a profound sense of direction and purpose stirring within her. Now she was charged with the resolve to expose not only the Thompsons' deceptions, but her own concealed strength. The courtroom had transformed into a stage ripe for revelation, stripping away illusions and unveiling truths. What awaited her in the next moments could either unravel her further or solidify her newfound strength as she delved deeper into her investigation into Mark's secrets, putting everything she had learned on the line to confront him. Her heart raced. How would she face Mark and the revelations therein? Sofia steadied her breath, her pulse thrumming in her ears like a steady drumbeat, amplifying her focus. She had taken the plunge, bravely proclaiming her knowledge, but as the attention sharpened, so did the scrutiny. She could feel the eyes of the jurors as they pivoted from the defense attorney's skepticism to the depths of her words, seeking the gravity in her truth. In that moment, she recognized the stakes were no longer just about the Thompsons and their struggles. It was about her own evolving identity. The courtroom buzzed quietly, a contrast to the storm inside Sofia. Mark sat there, his face a mask of contemplation. Did he understand the weight of what she was revealing, or was he scared of the light it could cast on everything he was, a wealthy heir burdened by expectations? The thought prodded at her determination, each pulse igniting a need to confront the truth, not just for herself, but for Mark as well. "You say you witnessed these moments," the defense attorney interjected, wrestling for dominance. "But did you ever confront them? Did you ever speak up?" Her voice dripped with condescension, testing Sofia's assertion of agency. A flicker of doubt threatened to unravel her confidence, a haunting voice whispering that her position had always been one of subservience and silence. But then a memory surged forth. A quiet evening when Mark had approached her, his expression vulnerable as he shared his fears about disappointing his family. "I did, in my own way," she replied, steadying her voice. "I may not have had the privilege to demand answers, but I did not remain silent. Sometimes listening is the most powerful act of rebellion." The room thickened with tension, and Sofia seized the moment. Mark's struggles aren't just echoes of family feuds. They are an intimate portrayal of someone searching for validation amid a suffocating legacy. "I heard him, and I saw him. I witnessed a young man caught in the web of his own family's expectations, wanting to chart his own path." She could see a shift in the jurors' expressions. The narrative was changing. They leaned forward, more engaged than before. Perhaps they were beginning to grasp the complexities that external appearances often masked. "This is bigger than me," she thought. "It's about breaking the cycle of silence that has held us captive." As she looked back at Mark, she saw a flicker of something unrecognizable contorted across his features. Was it shame, regret, or was it recognition? Each passing second felt heavy with untold stories, and her resolve surged again. "I need to confront his truth, whatever it is. We have both been hiding under shadows. Now it's time for light." When the attorney pressed further, struggling to chip away at her credibility, Sofia remembered her own journey. Each vulnerability she had encountered with the Thompsons reflected her own path of growth. Her pain, her determination to rise above expectations imposed upon her. This was not about combating the attorney. It was about demonstrating a personal evolution that surpassed societal tiers. "I might be their maid," Sofia asserted, her voice rising to meet the challenge. "But I am not invisible. I refuse to let my worth be dictated by my occupation or their ignorance." Moments throbbed with significance, and she realized that her witness stand was a reflection of her own belief system, a testament to resilience. This courtroom was a crucible, transforming her fears into flames of strength. Yet, deep within that newfound strength lay another unsettling truth. The closer she got to revealing Mark's hidden struggles, the more she sensed a strand of complicity tying them together. His family's delusions had ensnared them both, and now it was time to cut free. As the attorney struggled to regroup, Sofia's gaze locked onto Mark's. His eyes held a myriad of emotions, conflicted, yearning, perhaps even a challenge to let the truth breathe. The gravity of what she was about to reveal pooled before her. What could she expose that would alter his course forever? The courtroom air hummed, charged with unification of purpose. It was no longer just about survival. This was about redefining their connection, recalibrating their story, and bringing forth the truth that could be their salvation or their undoing. "Mark," she whispered, her voice resolute yet vulnerable, "it's time to face what's underneath." As she prepared to delve deeper, she knew that whatever happened next could set ablaze the fragile truce they had maintained in silence. The moment of confrontation loomed. Would he embrace the truth she was about to unveil, or would he retreat further into the shadows of his past? Sofia felt the weight of the moment pressing down on her, her heartbeat matching the thrum of tension in the air. She could sense a shift in Mark, a flicker of fear crossing his face as he grappled with the implications of her words. It was no longer just about their tangled past. It was about everything they had concealed from each other. A glacier of unsaid truths that had formed between them, freezing any chance of genuine connection. She took a deep breath, preparing to plunge into the depths of their shared pain. But self-doubt momentarily seized her. "Is this truly my place?" she questioned internally, battling the remnants of her childhood lessons that always cautioned against overstepping, against speaking too boldly. A flash of anger broke through that uncertainty. No more silence. The court was one thing, but the heart of the matter lay in their unspoken history. "Mark," she began, her voice unwavering though her thoughts raced, "I know the truth about your family's expectations." She paused, scanning the faces of the jurors, who were swiftly shifting from skepticism to rapt attention. "I know the pressure that weighs on your shoulders, the fight to carve a path in a world that dictated your worth before you could even speak. You're not alone in feeling trapped." Mark's gaze softened, and for a heartbeat, it felt like they stood on the same side of a vast chasm, united by their shared struggles. This was not merely a courtroom drama. This was a reckoning of their intertwined destinies. The defense attorney interrupted, desperate to reclaim the momentum. "How is it that you, as an employee, could possibly understand the intricacies of his life? Isn't it easier to project your own frustrations onto someone who has more?" The remark ignited a fire within Sofia. It's not about class or privilege. It's about seeing the person beneath the label. Mark is more than just a Thompson, and I refuse to allow anyone, including him, to brush aside his humanity. With each word, she sensed her confidence solidifying, transforming her vulnerability into a weapon against misrepresentation. This battle wasn't just about the Thompsons' legacy. It's about establishing her own value, the strength she gained through her experiences. The courtroom was a crucible of competing emotions. As jurors scrutinized her, Sofia clung to the narrative that tied her story with Mark's. "Mark, think of the times we sat together, the moments of unguarded honesty." She pivoted seamlessly, including the jurors in her memories. "I listened to you when you expressed the ache of expectation. I learned to listen through my own experiences of being unheard." Something flickered in Mark's eyes, an ember of recognition or something darker. As she continued, she let the truth spill out. "Your family's delusions of grandeur are not just a burden you bear alone. They ensnare you in a cycle of silence that I'm determined to break through." Fear gripped her anew. Would Mark reject her? Would he retreat back into that privileged facade? The tension was palpable as he leaned forward, his brow furrowed and searching. "Do you truly believe that?" he finally whispered, vulnerability cutting through the layers of his defenses. In that instant, she saw a glimmer of hope, the possibility of transformation, not just for him, but for both of them. It's about breaking free, about trusting that the truths we admit don't have to define us, they can liberate us. As she spoke, she realized that the weight of her assertion transcended her feelings for Mark. This moment was a reflection of her emotional growth, confronting not only his layered trepidations, but also the chains of silence that had shackled her for years. The attorney's voice rang through the courtroom, demanding clarity, but Sofia's focus was on Mark. It's time to confront your past, to reclaim your own narrative. Only then can you step away from the shadow of your family's expectations." With bated breath, Sofia waited for his response, the air thick with uncertainty. Would he bridge the abyss that had kept them apart, or would he search for refuge in the very denial she sought to dismantle? And then she felt it, a pulse of something electric, a moment when possibilities danced in the air, restless and waiting to be seized. What revelations awaited them both on the precipice of this critical juncture? The moment of truth beckoned. Neither could afford to turn back now. The courtroom held its breath, and so did Sofia. It was as if time had slowed, tension tightening around them like a noose. She could see the muscles in Mark's jaw clenching and unclenching, wrestling with an internal battle she could only begin to fathom. "Mark," she said again, this time more fervently, infusing her plea with urgency. "You cannot keep bearing this alone. The expectation to conform to a mold that was never yours, it's suffocating. Is it really worth it?" The sincerity in her voice echoed through the silence. The truth of her words hung in the air, ripe for the taking. Mark's face shifted, shades of confusion and recognition mingling in his eyes. With every second that passed, Sofia felt the walls around her slowly crumbling, revealing a space that had been off limits for too long. That silent ache of longing surged through her, urging her to cut deeper. "I know it's easier to hide behind money, to pretend that prestige means something." Her voice, "But I'm here to tell you, it does not. Your family's wealth will not protect you from your own soul." Each word was charged with a sentiment she hoped he would grasp, that perhaps he had already begun to see. She had spent too long in the shadows of her own mind, silencing the parts of her that deserved to be heard. A wave of self-realization washed over her as she stood there, her heart pounding in cadence with her life's lessons. Here was the very essence of growth, the courage to stand firm in her beliefs, to confront the unknown, to allow vulnerability, both hers and Mark's, to ignite change. The tension shifted again as Mark responded, his voice trembling. "But what if they reject me? What if I am not strong enough to carry this burden?" In that moment, Sofia recognized a glimmer of the boy she once knew, the boy frustrated by the invisible chains of tradition and expectation. "Mark, if you keep living for others, you'll never find who you truly are. It's okay to be scared. It's okay to not know what tomorrow holds. But to run away is to deny yourself freedom." She could feel the bridge that had long been absent between them starting to take shape. Something was awakening in him, and she could sense it, a flicker of defiance pushing through the layers of doubt. "This isn't just about you, and this isn't just about me. It's about all of us who have felt the sting of expectations, a chance to live our stories on our own terms." With every moment, she felt her own doubts fading into the background. This was no longer just an effort to reach Mark. It was a pathway to develop her own voice, to claim her power. Sofia had learned that the hardest truths often lie beneath the surface, hidden by anger or pain. A sudden realization seized her. She had to be the architect of her own narrative. "Mark, you have to step into your truth. If you confront your past, you will find freedom not just for yourself, but for those who have also been trapped by similar chains." The weight of her words rippled through the jury, peers who were now her witnesses in this mosaic of humanity, who held the power not only to observe, but to reflect upon their own lives and choices. As the realization settled like a heavy fog, Sofia turned her gaze to the jurors, who were no longer just observing, but now witnessing a profound transformation. The attorney's voice blurred into a distant whisper. All she felt was the electric connection sparking between her and Mark. And then, as Mark's expression shifted to one of resolve, a promise exchanged between them that they would not retreat back into silence. Sofia knew the conversation was only beginning. This was a moment of profound revelation, but a storm was brewing on the horizon, one that shook the ground beneath her. As she prepared herself for whatever lay ahead, an internal war that threatened to expose more than either of them anticipated, she felt an unsettling thrill. A deeper truth was waiting, a hidden struggle yet to be uncovered. What new challenge would unfold, threatening to undermine their hard-won moment of clarity? Sofia had thought that the hard part was over, but as the moment of connection with Mark subsided, reality clawed its way back into focus. The courtroom was still buzzing, jurors exchanging glances, some whispering, others looking intently at her. The stakes had shifted dramatically, and she felt a weight deepen on her shoulders. Her mind raced with potential repercussions. Had she opened up a Pandora's box? It suddenly occurred to her that revealing Mark's internal struggle may not only impact him, but would also ripple outward, potentially affecting her own life in unimaginable ways. She took a step back, pulling her emotions tightly to her chest. What had felt like a small victory now bore the threat of collapse. The attorney for the plaintiff, a seasoned individual with sharp, predatory instincts, leaned forward. "So you say Mark wants to confront his past. But what if that's all just a facade? What proof do you have that he can change?" The insinuation was palpable. It hung in the air like an accusation waiting to be dissected. Sofia's heart thundered. The attorney questioned not just Mark's strength, but her own conviction. The implications of such doubt cascaded through her thoughts like sudden rain on a dry ground. What if she had pushed too far? What if her pursuit of Mark's truth unraveled her own? She inhaled sharply. "Change," she found herself saying, her voice trembling but gaining steadiness, "is not about proof. It's about the will to confront oneself. It requires vulnerability. I stand here as someone who has witnessed Mark's struggle. He is not alone. He is reaching for help, and that is evidence enough." The words rolled off her tongue, carrying the weight of her own self-discovery. Yet for the first time in her life, she felt as though part of that inner awakening was still a work in progress. How could she embody this newfound authority when she still felt tethered to her old fears? Just then, she caught Mark's eye, and a silent dialogue passed between them. His weak facade was being stripped away, layer by layer. Sofia wondered if, in confronting Mark, she had also found a mirror of her own challenges. Had her struggles, her choices to please others, her failures, loomed larger than the truths she wished to stand for? The attorney continued, offering a calculated attack. "What makes you qualified to determine his state of mind? Have you not questioned your own motives? This isn't a therapy session, Miss Sofia. This is about a courtroom where tangible proof matters." That sharp pang of fear prickled her skin. The storm brewing inside her began to swirl more fervently. What really qualified her to speak on behalf of someone else? After all, she was still the daughter of a single mother who had spent decades trying to live up to expectations she never asked for. Did she have the authority to demand change from anyone else when she felt so unsteady herself? But then she remembered her earlier resolve, the surging power she had sensed when she spoke to Mark. This was not merely about courage, it was about confronting adversity and transformation. She suddenly decided to embrace her vulnerability. "I may not have years of authority behind me or a pedigree of success, but I know what it feels like to be held captive by silence. Yes, I questioned my motives, but within that questioning lies empathy. If I can stand here and share my voice, so can Mark. We all deserve that chance." She could feel the rhythm of her heartbeat align with her breath. An understanding unfolded within her. Growth was a continual battle against self-doubt, and every day brought new challenges that shaped her narrative. As Sofia regained her footing, something shifted within her. The courtroom might contain the weight of the world, but today her voice bore the potential to free both Mark and herself. What awaited her after this moment remained uncertain. However, she felt another transformation dawning. As the tension mounted and the attorney reeled from her response, Sofia caught a flicker of movement from the back of the courtroom. A figure appeared briefly, then retreated into the shadows. Who had that been? A hint of dread crept back into her mind, as unrecognizable yet oddly familiar as ever. What more would she have to face? And what revelations were still hidden in the corners of her own life that would demand her attention? The journey of self-discovery might be proving to be less linear and more complex than she had presumed. Sofia's gaze remained fixated on the spot where the shadowy figure had vanished, her internal dialogue spiraling. Moments danced through her mind, half-formed suspicions and unresolved fears that swirled together like an insistent fog, overshadowing her recent moment of courage. The attorney's pointed remarks still ricocheted around her consciousness, and she wrestled with a tumult of emotions. Was she truly ready for this level of confrontation? She envisioned the layers of her life peeling away, the single mother's expectations, the need to seek approval from others, her compromising instincts unfurling before this courtroom. As the resonating tremors from her passionate speech subsided, Sofia questioned if this was enough. Was her raw testament to vulnerability compelling enough to impact the jurors? Doubt crept in, whispering prescient thoughts, urging her to back down. But beneath those doubts, there also lay a flicker of determination, a will that would not be stifled. Then, as if to awaken her resolve, she noticed the jurors' expressions shifting. Some looked thoughtful, others concerned. Resonance sparked from her authenticity. Maybe she hadn't just advocated for Mark, but had inadvertently placed a piece of her story on the table. Yet that was the internal conflict she faced. To reveal herself further in this high-stakes arena meant risking exposure and scrutiny. Sofia reflected on her fear of judgment, of being the girl overshadowed by her past, the one who still sought validation from authority figures rather than stepping into her power. With such reflection came clarity. She was not the sum of her fears. She was the amalgam of her experiences, her courage, and a choice she needed to make. The question was, how would she wield the newfound strength she had discovered? Was there more within her to uncover? Sofia recognized that this case was more than a legal battle for her and Mark. It was a referendum on their existence, a way to validate struggles that both had lived but never fully understood. Her insight sparked a fire to confront the full extent of her fears, using them not as a crutch but as a stepping stone toward empowerment. The words of the opposing attorney echoed again, each repetition fueling her determination. She needed to turn the trial into a testimony, one not just for Mark, but for every silent voice still wrestling with inner turmoil. Firing up her thoughts, she spoke again, her voice now firm. "You demand proof? Look around. The room is filled with people wrestling with their own silences, their own challenges. Mark's journey is not just a personal battle, it is emblematic of what so many face. Vulnerability should not be dismissed as weakness, but recognized as a step toward healing and growth. My narrative intersects with his. If anything is to transform, it starts with candid connection." As she closed her eyes momentarily, she focused on breathing through the weight of the moment, filling her lungs with resolve. Despite the smell of tension thickening the air, she felt something shift within her. She wanted to find that figure who had slipped away earlier. What did they know? From the corner of her eye, she saw the attorney begin to regroup, the realization dawning in his expression that he may be unearthing more than he bargained for. She sensed that his tactics were shifting. Attacks directed at her would soon escalate. And with each second that passed, Sofia understood that not only was Mark's future hanging in the balance, but hers was too. The deeper personal implications were illuminating, and with them came the stark knowledge that she had to confront whatever shadows loomed, inside this courtroom and within her own life. Pausing, she mulled over her next words. As she did, the door to the courtroom creaked open, and the unexpected arrival of someone entirely unexpected sent her heart racing once more. What revelation would this stranger bring to the tumultuous trials both she and Mark were enduring? The unknown loomed large, and directly in that moment, Sofia understood she had another battle to face. Sofia stood at the witness stand, her mind spinning, not only with the pressures of the trial, but also with the sudden appearance of the unexpected figure. Who had dared enter this space at such a critical juncture? Anxiety pulsed through her, but she steadied herself. This was not the moment for retreat. It was a time for clarity. The courtroom buzzed again, alert to the new arrival. Eyes darted to the door. When the figure stepped forward, a familiar face emerged from the shadows. Her mother, Maria. Years of hard work etched across her features, each line a testament to sacrifices made for Sofia's dreams. The sight filled Sofia with a mix of determination and nostalgia. It was as if the very essence of her motivation had materialized before her. Maria met her daughter's gaze, pride radiating from her as she nodded subtly. In that acknowledgment, Sofia felt invincible. Her voice resonating through the courtroom, she recalled her mother's lessons on resilience and the need to stand firm in one's truth. This moment, this battle, was not just about Mark. It was about breaking generational cycles, standing as a testament to faith in oneself. The attorney's voice pierced the air once more, but Sofia had found her grounding. I know what it feels like to battle expectations and to rise above them, she declared, her eyes shining with conviction. This isn't merely about wealth or privilege. It's about the inescapable human experience of reaching for something more, a real life that lies beyond the confines of one's title or occupation. With conviction pulsating in her core, Sofia ushered forth her truth. Mark, the labels from your reality don't define you. Her words wove a tapestry in the courtroom, blending her fears and aspirations with Mark's struggles. Look at us, stuck in the shadows of expectations. We both deserve the chance to reconstruct our narratives. At that moment, she caught Mark's expression, a blend of understanding and fear. His eyes sparkled with uncertainty, yet danced with hope. And for the first time since this trial began, they shared a bond of mutual recognition. The defense attorney visibly recoiled, pivoting, trying to regroup. Ms. Ramirez, are you implying that a maid can guide a man of wealth and status on how to live his life? Your qualifications are dubious. Sofia felt the walls close in as the attack unfolded. But instead of faltering, she whipped back with a lifetime of conviction. You misunderstand the power in standing beside someone. My experiences may differ from Mark's, but I understand the weight of expectations. I am more than just a maid. I am a voice of authenticity, willing to carry my story alongside his. The courtroom's atmosphere began to buzz with a different energy, jurors shifting in their seats. Acknowledge her strength. Feel the reality of her words. Your accusation hurts more than my identity, she countered. It accepts the notion that privilege demolishes sentiment. In actuality, the gap between what we each experience still breeds a chance to uplift one another. Sofia took a breath, her heart swelling with purpose. I do not hold a position of authority, but in this shared journey, I can help Mark see the strength that lies in embracing vulnerability. That can be truly transformative. The connection strengthened between her and Mark, nudging him toward awakening. She caught his eye again, subtle, laden with urgency. She had to drive this home, to expose their desire for growth. In that moment, Maria stepped forward from her corner, her voice unwavering. Sofia is right. Vulnerability is strength. I've spent years fighting against invisible chains, teaching her not only how to break free, but to rise with grace. It is our stories that unite us. Stillness in the shadows can snuff out dreams, but confronting that silence is where growth begins. The courtroom erupted in whispers, jurors exchanging glances as faces showed varying degrees of visibly moved reactions. This exchange had sparked something powerful. Vulnerability, authenticity, and truth echoed like ripples in a vast ocean. As clarity washed over her, Sofia understood. This wasn't merely about defending herself or Mark. It was a declaration to every single person watching that they possessed intrinsic power. The ordinary could challenge the extraordinary if they found the courage to face the truth. With more focus now than ever, Sofia took a step closer to the jury. The moment felt monumental, the energy electric. I refuse to let the past dictate my future. I've conquered fears, and I'm here today to show that both Mark and I can redefine our legacies. The sound of the gavel resounded as the judge called for silence, but it echoed back to her, ringing in symphony with her heart. Sofia turned back to Mark, their eyes locked as if to say, "We are in this together." Together, they would transcend the labels, rewriting their futures. The trial did not culminate in just a verdict. It marked the beginning of something transformative for both of them. With newfound resolve, she felt solid confidence forging within her. For the first time, she recognized her competence not just as an employee, but as a fully realized human being capable of impacting her narrative and those around her. With the gavel's echo fading, Sofia stepped down, ready to embrace a future defined by her actions and decisions, not by limitations. The courtroom dimmed, but in that moment she possessed clarity, emerging stronger and emboldened, ready to tackle whatever lay ahead with a fierce spirit. And as she reached the exit, thoughts raced through her mind, unbounded by the barriers she'd once accepted. She would pursue her dream of becoming a doctor. She would uplift her community. They would each live unshackled by expectations, and they were no longer just labels. With every step forward, she reclaimed a narrative worth telling, her own. Now, dear viewer, this is your moment. You need to subscribe now to the channel to ensure you don't miss out on the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, as this truly makes a difference in bringing more powerful tales to us. We want to hear from you. Comment below your reactions and theories about this riveting conclusion. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need this inspiring story in their lives. Your support means everything.